pure sunflower cooking oil. Sunpick, cook more with less.
मेरे नबी प्यारे नबी सुन्नत तेरी दुनिया भी
Sunnah a day, accept gifts which somebody presents to you even if they are not to your liking.
Imagine this. You're putting together a 7-color meal, from the creamy pasta to the glazed carrots and flavorful onion gravy. This entire meal is made with our 100% pure extra virgin olive oil from our La Familia range, bringing outstanding quality and taste to your kitchen. Shop La Familia 100% pure extra virgin olive oil at any leading supermarkets near you. La Familia, heart of the home.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Business Matters. The title suggests many things.
نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. If it's Monday night, then it's the Business Matters program. Yes, it's the 10th of November, and it's just gone 15 minutes past 7. We have an exciting Business Matters program to you lined up tonight. You with me, Anwar Moolla, and the Business Matters program brought to you by the Minara Chamber of Commerce. So that with that, it's Assalamu alaikum. Spend the next 45 to 50 minutes with us, impacting on a really exciting topic. And tonight we're talking about the G20, the G20 summit that we all know is coming to South Africa shortly. All looking forward to it. What will come out of it. And there's no better person than to impact on all of this than a gentleman called YUNUS HOOSEN. I've got him on the line tonight, and he is the acting Deputy Director General, Investment and Spatial Industrial Development, Department of Trade and Industry. Assalamu alaikum, Yunus, and Jazakallah for joining us tonight.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you very much.
Yunus, where are you joining us from?
Pretoria.
Okay. Yunus, your title says it all. Acting Deputy Director General, Investment and Spatial Industrial Development, Department of Trade and Industry. You must be a very busy person at the moment.
It is indeed a very busy time for us.
Yunus, coming through the airport about 2 weeks ago, I think I was coming back from Cape Town, I saw a lot of boards welcoming delegates to various sub-forums for the G20 summit that were being held in Durban. So my assumption would be, as much as the crux or the main G20 summit is actually taking place in Johannesburg, there is a spin-off in that there would be various sub-forums meeting in various parts of the country.
So the G20 activities are in various task forces. And it's two events, right? One event is the G20 and one event is the B20. The B20 is the business 20 events. And along the B20, there's also various task forces. So what we've done in South Africa hosting the G20, it's a program for a year. There's been many meetings or working groups or task forces. At these, we've spread around the entire country. So there's been like the G20 Trade Ministers meeting, it was in PE, the tourism hospitality meetings were in Mpumalanga, and so forth. So we spread all these activities. The DOCO meeting was in the Kruger National Park, for example, international relations. The Finance Trade Ministers meetings, which you may have seen, was in Durban. So we spread this as the country to give the look and feel of everybody embracing the G20 platform.
Okay, Yunus, for the layman out there, if you can just explain what is the G20?
So the G20 comprises basically of 19 countries from across the different continents, and it includes the EU. In addition to that, it also includes the African Union now, which is a permanent member. So the G20, it was started post the financial crisis to address global governance and issues of debt. and debt reform and governance. But it has expanded to include issues of economics, trade, investment, and social and sustainable development. So I think for us, the G20, it's basically these countries have about 85% of global GDP. It has 75% of global trade. It has 65% of the world's population, which is about 5.2 billion. And it has the platform or the countries that are part of the G20 have about 60% of the world's land area. So it's a significant platform or a greater bloc, as you call it. And then in our case, South Africa, beyond the G20, we have invited many other countries, such as the AU, the SADC, the NEPAD. We've invited countries such as Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Spain, and Singapore. So it brings about a significant composition in two areas, in government, but also in business. And we've been fortunate in that we've traveled recently to many of these countries and met many of the businesses, significant businesses, multinationals, private sector companies, private firms, family-owned firms, and they have significantly across the board expressed interest to invest in South Africa or to expand their trade or their supply chains with South Africa. So it brings about a different dynamic in terms of our expansion and diversification of trade, greater market access for us for products, South African products into new markets, but significantly it brings about an opportunity for increased investment, but also to look at how in our G20 we've quite key on the African Continental Free Trade Agreement to have greater clarity on trade rules and trade policy, greater transparency, and greater divergence of trade and supply chains to build in more resilient supply chains into South Africa and into the African continent. And so I think for us, it's an opportunity of where we can showcase the country and we can showcase our capability and how we can also expand the foray into the African continent, but also to look at more developmental issues, supporting communities, looking at sustainable legacy projects. For example, the B20 submitted their report to the president about a month ago, and one of them is the legacy projects, for example, in sustainable mining or rehabilitation of mines in communities. So there's greater economic impact and there's greater legacy projects, for example, in trade rules, in rules of digitization and public governance on data protection, which will continue beyond the G20 itself. But also our focus has been also to have a more fairer trade regime or global trade regime, to embrace multilateralism, but to look at how, in order for us to scale up, in order for us to reach the goals of ESG and climate change, is to have a more fairer, more equitable, but more scaled up, but more fairer financing mechanism for the energy transition.
Okay. Um, a lot of what you said we're going to unpack a bit later on the program and get into more specifics. But let's start with with a bit of the bad news first. In that, President Trump has said he's not going to be making the trip down to the G20 summit, and more than that, he's actually said South Africa should not be on the G20. How significant is the fact that he's not going to be coming, going to harm or affect the G20 summit?
So the thing is, you participate in various task forces. So the reports are developed by all the members of the G20. I think there's a lot said in the social media and platforms, but I think we must wait until the final day to see who comes.
Yeah. So you're not saying that much, but you're quite hopeful that maybe maybe it will happen. So organizing a G20 summit of this magnitude, it must be a mammoth task. I mean, just taking the security aspects into account, you got the leaders of countries coming from basically 20 or more of the world's leading nations. How how big is this task force that to put this all together, and how prepared are we for this G20 summit?
Look, we've done this before in South Africa. We've hosted major sporting events. We hosted the 2010 World Cup, and we're quite capable in doing that. We've hosted, for example, as the BRIC Summit 2 years ago. So we I think it's for us. It's very opportune. It's a time that where we really bring South Africa to the global stage, and we have all hands in deck. We have many. There's security task teams. There's political task teams. We've seen the progress. I think we're ready to roll. And both the B20 with the private sector, which has done a fabulous job, but also the G20 on next Saturday, Sunday, the 22nd and the 23rd.
Okay. How significant is holding the G20 for South Africa's economy, particularly in terms of investment appeal and global positioning?
So I think we're playing quite a pivotal role in the sense that, given the global dynamics and the trade wars, I think you need a much more balancing view, and South Africa plays that key role, and I think that throughout the year, in terms of the technical discussions, in which South Africa called for a much more transparent and reform of the financial architecture in the task forces, in the financial task force. I think there's been significant progress in what we're not creating anything new. We're taking on the legacy that has been done by fellow developing countries of India and Brazil, which did this before us, and we continuing with that great work and expanding that with the agenda that we have in terms of the African integration and the opportunity for a greater scope for Africa, but more so to bring out the reforms that we have made so far, the policy reforms that we've made out, and also to look at much more investment from our side in infrastructure, but also to look at the legacies that will come out, some of the skills development projects, particularly in AI and other areas of what we would want to do as part of the greater continent, is to look at how we harness the critical minerals value chain into green industrialization that leads to low carbon manufacturing, which would be a significant boost for the African continent in terms of our industrialization agenda.
Okay, the G20, very significant. How often do the members of the G20 meet? Talking about, when I say the members, are talking about the heads of state.
So the heads of state will meet once at the summit, which concludes all the work and receive the reports at the summit. So the heads of state meets once a year, but throughout the year, the ministers or leading officials would continue the various task teams. There's basically, in every G20, there's about 22 to 30 working groups. We've made 3 broad agendas in the task teams: inclusive economy, industrialization, reduction of poverty. Then the second one is on food security, and the third one is on artificial intelligence and sustainable development and governance structures of public infrastructure.
So, Yunus, obviously, with these heads of states all descending on South Africa, there will be an enormous media presence here as well, because from all of these countries, I would imagine media would be coming through to cover the summit. Um, from South Africa, I mean, obviously, for those few days, we will be in the spotlight throughout the world on all of the major television channels, etc. What will this kind of do for us from a tourism perspective?
I think it's significant from a tourism perspective, from the airlines to hotels to retail to the MICE industry. It's a significant boost. And more so, people, when they come and see our beautiful country, they definitely would love to come back. And, the spotlight will be on Gauteng for those couple of days, but people come in before and people will stay over to go to Cape Town, to Durban, and the likes to visit and to have further meetings. But more, I think significantly, there's for business itself, beyond the G20, the B20, there's number of activities, a number of events, business forums, business to business engagements with various business groupings, business councils, chambers that will be happening in the broader part of Gauteng and other parts of the country. That's significant in terms of us deepening the partnerships for both trade and investment with South African business and the counterparts that come from the G20 countries.
Uh, will the G20 presidency help open new markets for South African goods and services across member states?
It will, because we have been talking to a number of these countries. We just came back from Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia last week, and it was a breath of fresh air that such countries that want to work with us, diversify our trade, significant opportunities for citrus, meat, and other agricultural products, technology collaboration, mining collaboration, working in, for example, in the areas where I'm focusing on investment in the EV value chain, also in working in critical minerals. So I think there's greater opportunities. There's a number of countries that we've also visited, Turkey recently, and significant countries that companies that will come from there, including from Saudi Arabia, from the UAE, from India, from China, from Germany itself, and other countries that are members of the G20.
Okay, as the small fries sitting out here in KZN, where our radio station is, how can some of the SMEs or the small and medium enterprises practically tap into the exposure, partnerships, and supply chain opportunities that you've just mentioned generated by the G20?
No, first of all, I think in both the B20, there's a track on SMMEs and development for that, and opportunities for both youth and women enterprises. There's also a track on women empowerment, but there's both ways. It's an opportunity for skills development, and there's an opportunity for both trade and investment. And a number of these, as said, these engagements will center around the business forums and events in Gauteng, but the spinners will also be in areas like KZN and the Western Cape and other parts of the country. So I think that, business formations that people are part of, they'll be able to be part of or participate in some of these discussions. There'll be also a lot of them will be online on YouTube and social media itself for people to participate in.
Okay, Yunus, we're going to go for a short ad break. And when we come back, we will discuss further some of the other benefits that will flow through to South Africa by hosting this really exciting G20 summit, which is really right on our doorstep now.
Okay.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Welcome to Simplex Radio. Visit our showroom for the full range of car audio. Our TV department carries top brands with quality LED panels, full HD to Ultra HD, and now the experience of Super Ultra HD. Visit our theater rooms and transform your home with brands like Onkyo, Integra, Denon, Boston Acoustics, Yamaha, and more for quality audio visual experience. Now available, full range of home appliances. A one-stop shopping experience. Call 031 306 4029 or Kenilworth Park, 202 Brickfield Road, Overport. Simplex Radio, the name you can trust.
Gift of the Needy team is working hands-on in Gaza to distribute aid in this time of crisis. Donate your zakah now to our brothers and sisters in Palestine who are in dire need. Standard Bank, Gift of the Needy account 272327654. Donate online on www.giftoftheneedy.com. Call us on 031 2713102. Gift of the Needy, bringing ease to those in need.
Almost 1 in 5 South African children attend school each day without having eaten breakfast. This seriously affects their ability to concentrate and understand lessons. The Al-Imdad Foundation's Make Breakfast Possible campaign allows learners to enjoy a high-energy cereal at the start of the school day. Help children to focus on learning and not hunger. Let's make breakfast possible today. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
Radio Al Ansar, 24/7, 365.
Business Matters.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you've just joined us, you on the Business Matters program, you with me, Anwar Moolla, and we've been having a really exciting and informative discussion with our brother YUNUS Hoosen, who's joined us from Pretoria. YUNUS is the Deputy Director General, Investment and Spatial Industrial Development, Department of Trade and Industry. Long title at that. But well deserved. And we've been chatting about the G20 summit and the economic spin-offs from the G20 summit. YUNUS, beyond the summit, what overreaching economic benefits should South Africans expect in the medium to long term?
Look, I think that globally, I think there's a move from countries that are looking at new partners and new areas to diversify their trade, to strengthen their supply chains, and to build more resilient supply chains. And that is what we, at the core of our industrial policy in the department, we look at three things. We're looking at decarbonization, diversification, and digitization. So when we're talking to these countries, that's at the core of what we're talking to them about. Greater market access, greater predictability, and we talking to them about the ongoing reform. There is going to be significant reform coming out in the infrastructure side, particularly in the energy space as well as in the port and rail space, which has already started in the energy side as well as in the logistics side. So we expect to talk to these countries, to have the President's Investment Conference in March, to take a number of these things forward practically, and to make a number of investment announcements in the President's Investment Conference post this G20. And the G20 enables us to provide a platform to really put those things into place and then reap the benefits in terms of countries then have a greater confidence to invest in our country.
Okay, YUNUS, I think we'd be failing if we didn't address the issue of the stand that South Africa has taken on the whole Israel-Palestinian issue. And in many quarters, they say it has hurt us badly, as has the whole tariff issue that America has levied on most parts of the world. Have you seen negativity based on the stand that South Africa has taken, and has it hurt us, and how badly has it?
No, the tariff issue is across the board. It's many countries. It's not only South Africa. We fall in the bracket. At the moment, it's 30%. there's many countries within that realm. So it's not single out South Africa, but it's something that we're working quite closely with the US to work on a program to see how we can reach much more better and much more a certain approach to both trade and investment.
And the Gaza issue.
I would not make any statement on that.
Okay. The long-term economic and reputational benefit. Does the Department of Trade and Industry hope South Africa will? What does the Department of Trade Industry hope South Africa will gain from hosting the G20?
Look, I think that the G20 offers you a platform to change or to influence the architecture of the economic agenda and for us it's the the development agenda for the African continent. So it offers us that significant opportunity as well as bring in the African Union through the free trade agreement, which is called the AFCFTA. That's significant for us to see how we can build greater collaboration for trade with Africa, but more importantly, more economic development and greater investment in the African continent as well as in South Africa itself. We think that and we hope that through this G20, it does profile us in another dimension in which we would see a bound for greater investment confidence in the country. And post this, you would see, I'm sure you would see greater investment in the country. But for us, it would be that we diversifying our trade. We're looking at new trade partners. We're working with all the trade partners. South Africa trades with the developed and the developing world. We're talking to all countries. We have issues with no country, and we would see greater expansion of trade from South Africa into these countries.
The fact that our infrastructure has kind of broken down so badly, I'm talking about the rail networks, the ports, etc. And you've said that the ports are a work in progress, and inshallah that will get better with time. But our exports, be they resources, be they agriculture, have been affected by our own doing, so to speak, in that we've allowed for our infrastructure to break down so badly. Is there now a concerted effort to get this right so that the exports can pick up again and the inflow and outflow of goods through the ports can be more efficient?
So what you're seeing is that there's great work being done between the National Logistics Crisis Committee and what you would call the private sector initiative, which is called B4SA, Business for South Africa. There's greater, and through that and the Operation Vulindlela process, we sort of mapped out and looked at areas which needs to be unblocked, and you can see there's a greater opening up. For example, the Minister of Transport, Minister Creasy, announced last month the private sector rail allocation of slots. And that opens up for greater investment, but it opens up for greater efficiencies and greater competitiveness of the rail sector. And you're going to see in the coming months, you're going to see much more of that. Similarly, you're going to see that happening in the port side, as well as in other areas of infrastructure itself. So I think there's a lot of work that's been done through the I would just call it the economic reform process, particularly on infrastructure. You've seen great strides being made in the energy front. You'll see an expansion of the integrated resource program, greater allocation in terms of the broader mix of energy, as well as energy infrastructure in gas and so forth in the coming months.
What part can the private sector play in in maybe a little bit too late now for the G20, but in this uplift that we expect coming from the G20, what part can us as the private sector play in this?
So the private sector is involved because, as I said, there are two tracks. The G20 is the government to government track. The private sector is the B20 track. So the private sector has its own program. It has 8 working streams in which the fellow members of the G20, like the G20 of government, worked in the private sector. The B20 for all those countries that are part of the G20, you get the B20 part of it. And like that, there is also other areas of the youth, the think tank, the social programs, labor for the G20. So I think there is the greater alignment. It would be good for the private sector to get all of the B20 report and engage the B20 secretariat, which is run by Kes Kuvadia, and be part of the B20 journey.
Okay. From your poorer cousins down here in KZN, we were encouraged. The minister spoke when she was down here, Minister Skrisi, the other day, about the rail network connecting Johannesburg to KZN, a high-speed rail network where one could get onto a train in Durban and be in Johannesburg literally in 2.5 hours. Seems like a bit of a pipe dream at the moment, but is that something that the Department of Trade and Industry is kind of working towards?
So, the Department of Transport would be the lead on that. Where we would come in is that we would look at policy frameworks in which we can localize components and products that could be made in South Africa.
Okay. The other thing that we need to plead to you for from KZN is that we seem to be lacking in terms of the number of international flights compared to some places like Johannesburg and Cape Town. We have daily flights, I think, from Emirates and Qatar and maybe Turkish on a few days a week. But to drive tourism to these parts of the country, to drive economic growth, is there a possibility of more airlines or more flights, international flights, being put on for KZN?
I think that's something that the KZN government could work on. We work on a air service network program with the airlines. These things work if there's a demand, right? If there's a demand, then you're able to talk to the carriers to provide more slots or to introduce new carriers or new airlines to come to KZN. I'm sure that could work if the provincial government has a air service plan or program, and that could be a good opportunity to spur tourism within the province.
Absolutely. Mr. Yunus Hussain, any parting message you would like to share with South African business leaders about positioning themselves to maximize the G20 opportunity?
I think it's an opportunity for all of us to embrace and for all of us to get involved. It's an exciting opportunity. You will see people of great scale and significant business people that will come to our country, and if it provides an opportunity, take it, and it will be a wonderful opportunity to get involved with such companies from these countries.
Thank you for those kind words. We wish you and your team well. I'm sure you have a very busy 2 or 3 weeks ahead of you. But when you're done with the G20 summit, on behalf of the Minara Chamber, I'm extending an open invitation to you to come down to KZN to meet with the business leaders here, which we'll be able to put some sort of meetings together to address us and to share your thoughts and ideas with us from the Department of Trade and Industry.
Sure, will do.
Thank you so much for your time. Yunus Hussain, Acting Director General, Investment and Special Industrial Development, Department of Trade and Industry, really busy with the G20 summit, and appreciate him taking some time out to spend with us and bringing us up to speed with what is happening in the next few weeks. With that, it's Jazakumullah khair to you.
Thank you.
Wassalam, and it's for me, the end of another program. Inshallah, we'll be back again next week, Monday, on another Business Matters program. So till then, it's wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Business Matters. The title suggests many things. The important issue is the world revolves around business, society, organizations, individuals, and even religion survives and thrives because of business. Business has to encompass not just financial commodity and service transactions. It has also to include welfare, justice, empowerment, environmental, and other issues too. Every week, Business Matters will delve into aspects of business that impact our lives. We will seek out extraordinary and ordinary people who have done extraordinary things. Facilitators, educators, and entrepreneurs will be invited to inspire and enlighten our listeners. Join Anwar Moolla for an interactive show and find out what really matters in business.